Welcome to Let's Talk Evolution. I'm Ritesh, and today we're diving into a really exciting topic, AI in hiring, from recruitment to retention. We'll be exploring how AI is reshaping the way companies find, hire, and keep talent. And joining me for this conversation today is my guest, Nacho. Nacho, it's great to have you here. Why don't you start by introducing yourself?
Yeah, of course. Well, thanks first for having me on the show. So my name is Nacho. I'm one of the co-founders here at Kuubiik. Yeah, my background is in marketing and sales. I do have a bit of a tech background, self-learned. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been around a little bit everywhere around the globe, traveled and lived in multiple countries, very multicultural background. Yeah, that's about me.
Okay, nice. And what do you do with your company? What does Kuubiik do?
Yep. So at Kuubiik, we are a outsourcing company. We do remote talent hiring for businesses that would like to hire someone maybe that is based overseas, whether it's for scaling or if you want to just lower your costs as you scale your company. We also do like project-based work, much like a consultancy firm in a way. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So today's topic, anyways, we already discussed this as well. It would be more along the lines of AI in hiring, from recruitment to retention. So we're going to basically explore how AI is reshaping the way companies find, hire, and keep talent. And we've got quite a few questions for you. It's mainly three questions, but I'm sure they'll come into some subpoints later on. And we'll try to get into the depths of it. So all ready?
Yeah, all good.
All right, cool. So we'll go into the first question. And my first question for you is, how is AI actually transforming recruitment and outsourcing as a landscape and a scene? And what type of impact does it actually have on the global state of hiring at the moment?
Well, AI is first of all, I think it's present everywhere, not just like in the recruitment industry, but in the recruitment industry, it's something to watch out for because it's coming up fast, I think. AI is currently already taking over a lot of recruitment roles, such as like everything related to like pre-screening of candidates, resumes, and everything. So we already have like tools such as like resume parsing, through ATS software. So we receive lots of CVs, and then we will just like scan through. That's already been existing. That's not using AI, but that's kind of like based on different automations and setups that you would do, and based on like what people are applying or what you're looking for. So it works pretty well. It's not 100% decent, but it can be a lot better. And AI comes in and actually does this, but like 100 times faster. So with AI, you could have a recruiter who used to scan CVs, even if the ATS and the resume parser is kind of like going through the CVs at a fast pace already. AI can just like multiply that speed even further. So they could receive 1,000 CVs at once and then just like scan through and know already if this CV matches majority of the things that are required in that job based on that job scope, right? And it could do further analysis as well. It could do an analysis like, what is the company looking for? Is it a multinational? What kind of profile it should look like? It should look for, sorry. And there are lots of things that AI can improve as well. It could improve the matching metrics. So for example, like with, you can see like Excel modeling or perhaps like data analysis that can be like pushed further. And it's not written the same way. So like AI can really like go and check all of these parameters in one go. Right. So that the matching is even stronger. And we've been doing this. We've been testing it for a long time already now. And AI is doing such an amazing job, to be honest. It's honestly a little bit scary because it's our industry at the same time. And, we're kind of like trying to take the to wave on that same to surf on that same wave. But AI is progressing very fast. So you could see like things like, um, for example, you want to hire someone and you have AI interviewing for them, interviewing for you on instead of you. So you could have like someone like an AI recruiter basically asking the questions on your behalf, not just doing the pre-screening part, but literally asking all the questions. So that's something that is also coming up. So AI is really going to be like playing a big part in the recruitment industry in general, in outsourcing as well, since it's quite similar, and it's something that it's both very exciting and at the same time a little bit scary, but definitely something that I feel like we should leverage on. And if we play our cards right, I think there's a lot to do on that end.
Okay. I mean, a lot of the points you mentioned as well just now, it comes across from the perspective as someone who's looking to hire, right?
Yeah.
But what about from the perspective of candidates who are actually looking to find a job as well? What do you think the impact AI has when it comes to that now? Especially like, for example, like you mentioned, you're also in outsourcing as well in a lot of what you do. At the end of the day, if you're outsourcing and some of the roles you may outsource for, not maybe a role that you might hire for specifically or outsource for, but as a very basic example, some people might want to outsource admin work. All right.
Mm-hmm.
If now you can get AI to do this, what does it say about the actual will be available for the mass talent that might be out there?
Yeah. Well, AI yeah, AI is definitely going to be impacting a lot of jobs, I think. But at the same time, it's going to create a lot of jobs. So there's going to be this kind of like game between like loss of jobs and creation of jobs. Now, the other thing is how AI is going to be helping job seekers as well. So I was just talking about like the employer side and everything, obviously, but on the job seeker side, it's going to be very interesting. You already see a lot of AI tools that help job seekers improve their resume, do a full analysis of their profile and be like, well, you seem to be quite strong in that area, but if you're applying to this job, you might need to look at this, and this, and then like add it to your resume, or maybe those are courses you have to take so you can expect to potentially expect to hit that job and land that job. So AI can definitely help in all of these things. You can also use AI to train for interviews, and I think the biggest leverage point would be that. Moving forward, the way I see it, and that's one of the things that we're developing. By the way, we're developing kind of like an app. It's still in progress, and you can go on the wait list if you guys are interested. But we are developing like an app where as you apply, you don't need to apply multiple times. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles right now is like when you start applying, you have to go to all these like different websites and reapply again and again and again. And you have to fill out all this experience and like education fields. And it's just like very time consuming and frustrating for, I think, job seekers. So AI could actually help with that. So let's say with our platform, what we're planning on doing is that you could apply once for a job. And as long as it's still the same job, right, in the same kind of like context, let's say if you're applying as a web developer, let's say to be even more specific, like a front end developer, you apply for one job and then you apply for another front end development job and then another front end development job. The part where you are introducing yourself, where you explain what's your experience, where you explain all of these things, even as part of the interview, because during interviews basically do the same all over again until they start asking the custom questions. But otherwise, it's always the same questions, right? And you have to reintroduce yourself. That part can be done once. You don't need to do it like all over again. So it's going to be very helpful, I think, for on that aspect, because it's going to save a lot of time from the job seeking part. And that's something that we haven't seen in a while, right? The other thing that is, I think, even more interesting is that we can start doing like matching. So far what we've seen, at least from the employer side point of view, is that you have a lot of platforms that help you match based on your job description. So let's say you enter a job and you say, I'm looking for a graphic designer in, let's say in Argentina. Great. So they send you a list and they even do like AI matching. Okay, that's very common. That exists. It's been existing for a while already with the ATS stuff. So, but this has never been available on the job seeker side. Like you never have like, I'm gonna search for a job and see which job matches the best my profile. But with AI, that's something that will definitely help. So that means that also instead of applying to 1,000 jobs, maybe in the future you just need to apply to like 5 or 10 that maybe are really have high chances of actually for you landing that job, basically, right? So it will definitely help on both sides. It will help on matchmaking in a way, job seekers with employers from both ends. Yeah.
Okay. If you don't mind indulging me to be a little bit of a devil's advocate here as well in that instance, in the sense where in if you have an app or you try to use AI to assist job seekers, like a matchmaking service to find a role that might be suitable for them, considering how the market is already very competitive with the amount of talent that's out there, do you find of one of two things? Using AI would make everyone look very similar to each other because you don't really know what's real and what's not at the end of the day until you actually end up meeting the person. But beyond that, as a second thing, would that not potentially make things even more competitive? Because what's there to stop people from abusing such a feature where they can, instead of apply for 5 jobs that might be more suitable for them, maybe there's 1,000 jobs with the same title and they just put their profile in for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very fair question. But there's a lot of things that you can actually predict and you can do further analysis using AI tools as well. First of all, with AI, not a single job application will be the same. Even though what I said just now is like you can actually just have one, you can apply for one job and then just like reapply. But the portion that is about yourself, that's the part you don't need to apply for anymore. But the portion that is about the job itself, that's always going to be very unique to each job and to each applicant. So even now and even in the future, it's never going to change, right? If you apply to a front-end developer job for company A, and then you again apply for front-end developer job for company B, their requirements will be different, right? Even though it's the same sort of like job, but then every company has different requirements. It's kind of like DNA, right? Every company has their own DNA. Every applicant has their own DNA. So everything will always be very different. You're right to say that everyone will become better at it using AI, but so will be the technology, so will be the employers as well. So it's kind of like, I think everyone will be evolving at the same time. So it's not like it's going to change much from where we are and where we stand now. It's just like everyone's going to evolve at the same time. And it's just going to be better in general, because then everyone will be a little bit more knowledgeable and will know like what they need to do and how they can be more competitive against like other candidates as well. But in general, I don't really think it's going to change much in terms of like the uniqueness of your application. Yeah.
Okay. So basically the journey itself will just come across as a more efficient process as opposed to anything else.
Yeah, much more efficient from both ends. Less time spending on like applying, less time spending on finding candidates. You'll have this sort of like matching that is gonna work really well, because we've been testing and it really works really well. We've been testing things like, let's see what AI says, and because we do have recruiters as well, let's see what our recruiter says. And then we do a comparison to see like what's the difference. And actually it's so similar, but even AI is bringing even more details. It's not that the recruiter don't have those details. It's just that writing down a full report on one single like interview takes a lot of time, but AI can actually do this in just a second and get to the very nitty gritty of like everything. So it's just super powerful. And then based on all of these details, you can extract all of this information, and then, do your matchmaking basically with the jobs and everything else.
Okay. And this leads quite well into our second question here. which is mostly going over how AI can actually support the employment journey, whether it's from sourcing and recruiting to payroll and engagement or anything during that employment phase, as well as to anything post-employment, right?
Yeah.
We've touched on a few things as well, and I guess some of them post-employment would also cover how job seekers, for example, can continue to improve or leverage their own skill set from the recruiting aspect, going through the CVs. But beyond those two things, what else do you think it could really help with in terms of its ability to support?
Well, first of all, I'll probably like take a step back and say just one thing. I feel like the future of big multinational companies will be around not necessarily new tech, right? But it will be about assemblers. So people who are able to take industries that have a lots of silos and assemble them together. That's definitely something that we are trying to do, and we're starting to see in the industry as well, and in different industries. So let's say in the whole hiring process, between the sourcing stage, the hiring stage, the payroll, the training and development, the engagement that you have with your staff, and then even with the offboarding, if you look at it nowadays, everything is sitting under different silo softwares. Okay, you have for hiring, you will have like Indeed, you have like LinkedIn, very popular, etc. Obviously, once you need to recruit someone, then if it's someone that is overseas, you probably need either a company like us for outsourcing or like an EOR provider, like someone who does like employment of record, and so on. And that's great, and it's very much needed. Then next one is payroll. Payroll, some EOR providers do this, but if you look at payroll specialists, it's a different thing. On the engagement side, on training and development, again, that's like another system. Now, to manage your HR teams, to manage your employees, you need like HR systems. So that's another software. To offboard, sometimes you need something else. So everything is very siloed, very expensive, of course. And I feel like with AI, you could actually combine everything. Right, you could combine everything under one roof. So you could get AI to pull profiles from different places like LinkedIn, from even GitHub. Why not? This kind of things. During the recruitment stage, we can do basically what I said earlier, which is sourcing and then matching and then doing like AI interviews and things like that. For payroll, payroll could be very, very complex, especially if you have staff that is all over the globe. If you have like people in I don't know, Latin America, and then people in Asia, and people in the US, all of this is very complicated. It's very in terms of like compliance work, legal, taxes, and then just payroll in general, very complex. And AI can help you match all these things together. Can become like an automation checking tool, right? Can also even maybe start drafting some legal contracts for you, right? And that's not necessarily something that we can just say like, hey, we'll just let the AI decide and we'll trust blindfolded. But obviously there's like a lot of work to be done, but the potential of it is just infinite. And it's just like being able to assemble all these things together through AI is just magical. And that's basically how I see how AI can support the current global hiring chain. Yeah.
I think you touched upon something there as well in terms of being able to assemble something together in terms of all the different tools and everything. Because now if you look at it, I want to say it's getting kind of ridiculous, the amount of tools and subscriptions that companies would have. Even, I think at this point, forget about companies, individuals as well. Yeah. It racks up a lot of cost. Being able to bring them all together, whether it's through vendor partnerships or anything along those lines, I think whilst that is still something that is definitely being done by a lot of companies, and you probably see that with a lot of bigger companies, with AI now, and this is something I myself am testing, is trying to just build up APIs to connect everything together.
Yeah.
As open source as it can be. No pun intended with the words open source here, but in the sense where I want to try to make it as easily accessible and ensure that it's as connected as it can be. Getting to that point takes a bit of time, especially for people who are individuals or someone who's maybe very new to this. But even for me, for example, someone who has no knowledge in how you build this sort of thing, using something like as simple as ChatGPT or Claude to give me the instructions or the steps, basically like a how to build an API for Dummies 101, being able to use it in that sense is something that I've been trying out. I've been using quite a bit, and there's a ridiculous number of benefits behind that. So I would love that, especially as marketers, we've got things that are everywhere. So it gets really messy at times. So being able to I guess appease that sense of OCD would definitely be welcomed by a lot of us.
Well, yeah, I think you have a good point here. Everything is very scattered, and it's getting very expensive, even for us users, right? Like whenever you want to get access to this, get access to that, it's just getting out of control. And AI is helping, but yet not helping, because you get so many companies like just popping from everywhere that are AI companies. And then you can use their tools, because obviously they're very interesting tools as well. But it's just like more and more and more. But yeah, so we're trying, and that's one of the things that we're building right now, is kind of like an assembly of all these tools working together through APIs, as you said, through partnerships, through our own stuff as well, building our own technology, obviously. But I feel like that's one of the things that a lot of our clients are currently asking for. Even we have clients coming from different sides, and they're asking, "Oh, can you guys do this, and that?" And we say, "Well, we can do this, but this part is with another person right now," and it makes sense, because you can't do everything unless you have like monopoly on the market, But yeah, it's just getting very interesting, and trying to assemble everything, trying to really listen to the current demand in the market, and understand what people are looking for and what they're tired of. I think that's very important. It's kind of like the direction that we're trying to take. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the other aspect as well is you probably see a lot of companies now that find it's not really worth building something themselves to enhance their own product or features or anything. Typically, what you find a lot of the case being now is companies are just acquiring other companies that already have something that they may want to help complement or supplement whatever it is they're already trying to sell or trying to build. And I think if you look at that as an example, it just shows that at this point, the way that things are moving and transcending as time goes on, and probably a lot quicker than most people might have anticipated, it looks like that's probably going to be the way in which we see new products or products using AI with actual use cases that can do everything. That's when we'll see it all coming up. I think gone are the days, so to speak, where companies already had the ability to do something now, but they chose to wait on it for the next 3 to 5 years in order to sell more and more. I guess a very basic example that still applies now, if you think about it, you look at an iPhone, for example. The features that come out in an iPhone now probably were available or could have been done 5 years ago. But in order to keep sales running as time went on, they obviously had to hold back on releasing such things.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way you'll end up seeing it, especially with a lot of the bigger firms nowadays. And how you see, for example, a company like Meta, they're just looking to splash cash around to try to acquire whoever it is that can help build them that, what was it, that their super AI team or something they were looking to put together, right?
That's right.
At the end of the day, I think that's just what we're going to end up seeing. But yeah, now I wanted to also lead on into our third and final question here, which was maybe a little bit more generic or across the lines of what most people are thinking as well, which is the fact that just individuals as a whole are probably going to be fearing AI quite a lot, especially when it comes to the workplace, right? I think when it comes to personal lives, everyone's all for it if it's going to help. But in the workplace, there's a lot of fear. So for now, for this last question, we want to go through what are the meaningful use cases of AI, which can actually help a lot of these individuals from their career standpoint in terms of trying to grow or reskill, or even just try to thrive in a market.
Yeah, I think just probably going back to what I was saying a little bit earlier, because I think touched on that point just slightly. But you could really leverage AI to reskill yourself. I mean, you just said it yourself, right? You're learning by yourself nowadays. Like you go on ChatGPT or wherever it is, Perplexity or something, and then you just start like exploring and learning. And oh, this is how you build an API connector, or so reskilling became and learning. I think as a whole became very accessible all of a sudden. Actually, it just even brings me to a different point. It's a bit perhaps out of scope, but education as a whole will definitely benefit a lot from that. So, and all the new talents that we'll see coming up next, like all this new generation that we will leave with AI will be, even learning AI at school. They will come up with a whole bunch new set of skills that none of us are even aware of. So I'm not even too worried about like how people are going to react. I think it's just things will fit. It just I feel like everyone will have to start looking at AI and see like how they have to leverage and use AI to their benefit. And I think that's something that is similar to how the internet came about some time ago. Some people started rejecting it. Some people were saying like, what, a mailbox, an inbox? What is that? And well, now everyone's using that. And so I feel like it's kind of like the same thing. We're going to have to adapt for sure. I'm also scared. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Like at the pace it goes, it's just quite frightening. Like there's some jobs like, I don't know, graphic design. It's like I think like Google just released like Nano Banana or something. And it's quite fascinating to see like the possibilities. So I'm actually worried about designers. I'm worried about many different roles, copywriters, marketers in general. It's just like AI can swoop all of that. But I think the way you fight for it is it's kind of like being in front of a bull, right? You don't just stay there and wait for it to hit you. You kind of have to go and like go around and like hold the horns and everything. So I think that's kind of like how we have to take it with AI. We have to like embrace it. We have to live with it. And we probably have to use it to our advantage. I always say, for example, to my team, like there's so many things that we have to learn now with AI that could put you guys in front of the scene in the next like 1 or 2 years, just because you decided to learn a little bit. And again, to your point, learning now is so accessible and easier. So there's no excuse, to be honest. But yeah, I understand like it's frightening. Even for myself, it's very frightening. I feel like, yeah, but I think I prefer to look at it as an opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I fully understand where you're coming from. I think what people fear more, aside from just AI replacing them, is also the rate at which things are changing, or
yeah,
even if you want to call it improving in terms of technological capability. Like if you think about it as well, even though it's 20 years ago, it doesn't feel like it in the sense where you still would have had cord phones, right? Yep. Mobile phones are still not the biggest things. Obviously, they were around, but they weren't like anything we use now. And in that 20-year period, if you just try to break it down into different, I guess you can call it mini eras of technology, the amount of mini eras we would have gone through would have been ridiculous. And you can look at the post-COVID one of these last 5 years, or even if you consider post-COVID to be end of 2021 or 2022, the last 3 years alone has experienced some ridiculous growth and ridiculous change. And you look again just prior to that. So I think seeing all of that alone and how everything is developing in the way it is and becoming more accessible to everyone, that's something that fascinates me, because it means that everyone can suddenly try to become a master at almost anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just with any new technology comes fear, or with any new kind of like industry evolution comes like fear of like what's next, what's going to happen to us. And actually, you see that a lot of people still manage to survive really, really well. But it's interesting. I feel like as we move forward in the next few years, things are just going to keep accelerating, and we're going to have to kind of like get used to it. It's kind of the trend in the past 100 years if you look at it, right? less than 100 years ago, we barely had cars. We barely had like basic technologies, right? And to your point, 20 years ago was now maybe like a little bit more, like 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago was like internet, and then the cell phones, and then smartphones, and everything scaled like very fast. But we got used to it. But now I think the difference is that none of these technologies before were replacing us. They were kind of like a very convenient thing to have, and like, it's great to have this. If you use it, you could benefit from it. It can be like almost like an upscaling factor. But now it's kind of like something that could eventually replace your skills, your knowledge. Yeah, I think as we move forward, we'll have to start using our brains a little bit more and less our skills, because skills will be used by AI. So we have to kind of like know how to dictate and basically like inform AI what to do and leverage on that. So I feel like designers or copywriters, the jobs that I mentioned earlier, that are at risk in a way. Yes, but how you kind of like navigate through this is you can become a master of AI with design. Because if you look back not so many years ago when Canva came out, everyone was like, oh, designers are out of job already because now we have Canva and it's so easy. We don't need Photoshop, we don't need Illustrator, which was true. But the concept and understanding of the design concepts, that's still something that is in here. And even with AI, I can understand all these concepts, but like coming up with like very creative ideas and something quite unique, I think that's still going to remain within us. And of course, with AI, you can actually make something even much more interesting and give life to like very artistic things, even if it's AI doing those artistic things, but the idea, the concept comes from you. And same goes with copywriting, same goes with development and so on. So I think it's going to be just really interesting to see, like, from these initial jobs, what kind of new jobs are going to come out in the same sphere. So it doesn't mean like you're a designer and all of a sudden like no more design jobs ever. No, I think it's still going to have design jobs, but like maybe leveraging on AI. Yeah.
It's just how it will change and how you can adapt to that change.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks a lot for the time today. I think that will bring us to the end of the podcast for now. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of other talking points that we can go through as well. But I think if we did that, it would turn into I don't know how long. So we'll leave it for that. We'll leave it there today. Thanks again for speaking on Let's Talk Evolution. And to anyone who's listening and watching at home as well, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you on the next episode next week. Thank you.